Hello, this is a special segment of the Weekly Zoo. This is recorded on June 30th, 2024, on the Death-a-versary of Melanie. I had an okay day. I'm recording this actually on the evenings. I did not have much time to prep to do this. Today to record this. I had the time to didn't have the time to sit down and study to record this till later today. So that 5 times fast. This is what happens when it's late in the day and I need to live on a script. And that's exactly what I want to do for this special episode. When this happened on a Wednesday 3 years ago. And I actually was supposed to be on a 2-week break from the zoo. Because, you had the July 4th week coming up, the holiday. And I, normally had taken breaks from the zoo. I had done, I think, 20 something episodes in that year because I was going on a weekly basis. But with the Melanie situation, I broke into my show and went on a live stream. So if you want to hear the piece about Melanie as an individual, I'll put a link in the description on both the podcast and on the Weekly Zoo's YouTube and the Facebook page for the puff piece on Melanie personally. But that is not what I want to talk tonight, because I think there's really an important need to discuss. Why did I go to Melanie in the first place? It really wasn't, even in the 2021 rewind, I didn't have enough introspection in time. So this is going to be a mostly scripted segment, and I'm going to be reading this copy on my MacBook here because I think it's important to tell the story of why this happened for a reason. In fact, got a new pop filter and it's not working the way I want it to work. So hopefully it will be on a good behavior. And if you're on a good behavior pop filter, I'll give you a cookie. So this is more of the ode to the oh no, you love this when this happens. I think the nut needs to be tightened up. Okay. So this is the ode to the relationship of Melanie. Today I want to tell you the narrative about Melanie, but I will refrain from discussing the ode of her personally to prevent a perception of delusion. I want to actually talk about the relationship about her and how the relationship was the reason why I led onto her. This will not be a puff piece. In 2014, I was still single. I was going in my late 20s after a turbulent half-decade prior to. I made a decision that there wasn't going to be much hope for me to have an actual relationship based on the reality I had seen. This so-called reality is nicknamed the Red Pill from the infamous 1999 film The Matrix. But that's not what I felt in reality. And just a little bit of a side, my crush in 5th grade, her name was Miranda. And when we were in that summer break between elementary school and middle school, she wanted to go on a date and watch The Matrix. I thought it was really ironic. She was interested in that film, and I don't think she is one of these types either. I always wondered that about her. Just thought I'd mention it since we're talking about romance. In fact, I wanted to date someone who loved me and loved them back. At the same time, loved ones noticed an appearance of a strong distaste for women. But this was before I realized that I was in toxic relationships with women with strong appearances of narcissistic traits and masculine attitudes. I take the relationship with Melanie over taking the red pill anyway, but Would anyone credit me for doing the least negative thing by doing an unpopular decision? Yeah, I pulled a Kim Kardashian and married under the table and under the books. Melanie and, and I in the non-electronic virtual world, and Melanie was not manipulated by me. I acted as her voice and relayed her thoughts. Oh wait, she had a Facebook too? Well, same idea, even if no one else believed it. Melanie had a personality that differed from all the other ladies in my life. She wasn't entirely submissive, but predominantly submissive in how we put boundaries in our relationship. I didn't know how this really meant, but ironically, in 2018, Melanie posted on her Facebook that healthy relationships require strong boundaries. Of our general expectations of each other allowed us to expect what to expect and not have it change day by day, for an example. There were many stories outside of pub that I would say about her. One was a composite sketch of a photo I took at Hampton Beach in 2015, and Melanie and I are supered in it. The picture shows both of us with our backs sitting on a towel at the beach. Melanie appears in a bikini clad self. So the picture shows both of us bare backs sitting on a towel at the beach. Melanie appears to be in a bikini clad self, while I'm also half naked. Many other people had seen that photoed image and paid attention to Melanie's outfit, but not the part where Melanie is gently on my upper right arm. That she's not pressing on herself against me. So I'm just going to zoom this a little bit more so you can see this without being a sexist pagan degrading Melanie. She respected my general personal space, and her happiness was very evident, seeing her head gently against mine. Yet the self-described intra-misogyny where women hate each other was very evident that the only reason why the picture was so great to see Melanie in her bikini, not her gentle, soft persona seen in this close-up, which no one else really saw. Melanie had tough skin most of the time. If another guy pressed or showed physical interest, she would respond back, not to lead him on, but acknowledge their presence and interest. Most Western women today wouldn't do this. Melanie would have been 40 in May, and despite her being so youthful, it was her personality and demeanor that was the most attractive part of her youth. Melanie had the tough skin most of the time. If some other guy showed physical interest, she would respond back and not lead him on per se, but acknowledge their presence and interest. Most Western women today wouldn't do this. Melanie would have been 40 in May, and despite her being so youthful, it was her personality and demeanor that was the most attractive part of her. So now I'm going to ad-lib and tell you a lot about Melanie and how she does not qualify in the definition of an imaginary friend, but someone that is virtual in the sense, because for one thing, my therapist, and she was brought up multiple different times from my therapist. One is, was she based on something physically specific? She wasn't. She's kind of a composite of different female figures. The other thing that also hit the multiple prong test was, would this same thing happen if this was somebody a little bit more realistic? And the answer is unfortunately yes. My mother had strong opinions of Melanie. Like I think the example that I showed you in the still, my mother is very, like the image that you had seen was very burned in her memory, but she didn't see the headshot. She saw everything else and was more bothered by everything else, but not that with when I look at that, that's one of my favorite photos of me and Melanie, because it showed our bond. And again, a picture can speak 1,000 words in this case. The other thing that hit there's other instances where my mother didn't understand a lot of the different things, taking her more seriously in certain instances. There's a lot of traumatic things that were happening in the midst of the relationship. So the coping mechanism she had described clearly fit the that description. The other thing I would also note that Melanie was also the minifig self concerning Clickford, and I know that this got some interest with other YouTubers because my YouTube identity was Stephen Clickford at the time. Was this something to do with computers or tech? No, it had to do with Lego, and a lot of AFOLs, adult fans of Lego, don't really make up names outside of the word brick. So brick and click and furred. If you guys are from the New England area, you might think it's the last name of a town. That was where Melanie's name derived from. But this explanation, people couldn't get this, particularly Alfred de Blasi, the infamous YouTuber, tech YouTuber, just went over his head apparently. So the other thing that I would explain about Melanie was what had happened 3 years ago. This was, we were still in divorce proceedings, and Melanie filed for divorce on February 14th of 2020. The other thing that happened with Melanie was just, I couldn't say anything because our lawyers were going to use it against me. We had a business relationship, we had a romantic relationship. Business and pleasure, I'm sorry, does not mix. I don't care what they say. Okay, so in that situation, I really couldn't say anything to anybody because the Melanie relationship got leaked out to other people, and I wasn't really allowed to explain it. And also, no one was talking to me directly about it either. They were funneling it through my mother, which I think also said a lot, because again, the other thing with relationships is, with imaginary or virtual, is that if this was an actual relationship, would the same result happen? And I would say yes, because people don't talk to me directly. I'm not human. I've in some ways been proxified and objectified. In some ways, I'm really my mother's little hierarchical child in the most literal sense. Okay, so there's that as well. On the day that she died, in case for those who are not familiar, I want to tell you basically just what happened. She was in her minifig self. She was on a road outside the city of Copenhagen. She was on stage 3 ovarian cancer. She was in terminal death. She didn't want to fight it. She was freaking out. She had been diagnosed, I think, the fall before. And this is really graphic for some of the audiences who you might want to tune away. She died from a suicide, but she had did it in a very objectively spectacular way. She hit a ditch. Apparently she slit her hand on the steering wheel and lost control of the vehicle. Okay. An airbag deploying. Okay. Well, where was that knife? It was on the steering wheel. She had 4 or 5 other knives on the steering wheel mounted, ready to be being intentional projectiles. So it hit part of her eye, I think her nose, her jugular vein, and she was bleeding to death within minutes. 911 call was placed at 4:45 in the morning. The Copenhagen, even though it was outside the city jurisdiction, they do cover that neighboring town. Police were dispatched, and fire and EMS were dispatched, but then a call was then rerouted to another unit that was closer to the scene. They go to the scene. 4:51 they arrive. They open the door, and this is the quote on the two-way radio: torrents of blood. Expletives were the Copenhagen's finest were panicking. By 4:58, or maybe even after 5 a.m., the paramedic was on the scene. Somehow the paramedic knew this was not a usual wreck, and they declared her dead. Accident reconstruction occurred for the 6 o'clock hour. The roads was reopened at 6:45. The temperature was going to be near 100 with a heat index, so the body needed to be, and again, this was also mentioned on the two-way radio, that it was better to preserve the body than to save the life, because they knew that she was dead at arrival from the EMS and the fire people. So they were already going towards because she was torrent of blood was coming out of the driver's side vehicle, and one of the things on the police report, they or I forget what document it was. They looked at her the airbag. They characterized the airbag filled of saline substance, meaning it's tears. She was crying, her bawling out, and it was all over the steering wheel mixed with all the blood. So they figured out she was just a basket case on the road. In her last, they believe she was conscious for about a minute after the wreck, that she was dying like that. Because I worked with the state of miniifig as a public employee, I was one of the highest paid employees working in their unified communications division, trying to get over the voice over IP for all the state. That was a daunting job. I got bought out because we are not a union favored state that it is at will in the government. So that Republican government, conservative government, decided to lay me up before the government even got sworn in. And he didn't go for re-election, which I thought was interesting. So I couldn't work for the state government again, although they had kind of bribed me under the table to be a contractor. I declined because I was working in the media at the time, which was another thing. At the time of her death, I was working for BCOP TV behind the scenes. So it was kind of interesting that because her name Clickford was the surname, it's the capital city of Connecticut in the state, in the miniifig world. So what happened was they needed to tell me ASAP, while Miniland, which is a 4 million minifig city, and Clickford being at 300,000 populous city, the news was going to get spread within hours that news crews from Miniland, in particular some from Connecticut, would be coming up to Copenhagen. Who is this Melanie Clickford? And that was an interesting story, because we had a thunderstorm actually happen here, and we had a cold front, and people were fighting for satellite trucks to get the live shots to tell the story. And so, because I was a high-paid state employee, that meant that I get some perks, like having the top attorney general in the Minibrick State Bureau of Investigation and the top deputy lieutenant in the miniifig state police knocking at my door at 10 in the morning to tell me that Melanie killed herself. And that the state's medical examiner already had her body and started to do an autopsy. Just like with any other body, it took about several weeks. We were going with the official narrative that she died from an apparent suicide. And it wasn't until probably July 17th that we got confirmation that it was on suicide. They had to do accident reconstruction. It was brutal. And not to tell anybody in real life, anyway, this thing that's been in my life for 7 years was happening. So you're trying to control yourself, and meanwhile, Alfred de Blasie's still confused by my identity on YouTube in the comments, because the channel 312 was called Stephen Clickford at the time. So again, just this confusion. I can't say much. Something happened, but I can't say because it would just get to the wrong ears, create more misinformation in real life. And that's why Melanie was kind of kept in lock and key. What am I doing for her legacy? Both of us were in telecommunications, in that really boring world of the desktop device of the telephone. Melanie did not like how the 911 regulations were happening. She was a strong proponent of anti-male abuse, and she had been been subjected to that herself. And Melanie believed that women should be protected, and that the regulations for 911 in private business was improper. However, one of the things that she had told me was that 911 should be a place for mental health emergencies and not in the 988, because she thought, like, you're uprooting area codes for this, and we were still kind of together at that point. And so in Metro Miniland, if Melanie had this mental health emergency, someone could call 911 and talk to an operator, and an operator could walk her through basic ways to diffuse mental health emergencies. It has not gone to the miniifig state level for the 911 PSAP for everyone else outside of Miniman County. So Melanie's role, I've not gone into that advocacy, but that's what Melanie's name wanted to be. She really believed that 911 from within should be regulated, not to have everyone else be on the hook for it. We are talking about the Carrie Hunt law. And Melanie, I believe, called it the cunt law, too. You take Carrie Hunt, you're a cunt. And again, Avaya went out of business, right? No one's using Avaya products anymore. No one's using on-prem phone systems because they're afraid at that moment that 911 accidentally doesn't work properly, the FCC is going to come after their ass. And so that's something that Melanie believed in. And so I have not gone forward with that advocacy because I've been trying to take care of myself. But I think real life 911 is a joke. I think real life 911 communication centers, it's basically the white grievance hotline. And there's a lot of stuff that 911 should be regulated, and there's other parts of 911 that's been redirected towards the so-called end users. And Melanie was not the Me Too girl entirely, but if there was a case of an actual TV situation, she had zero tolerance for those men. That's what made us strong, because we both didn't like the strong, toxic masculinity. So as I start to recover from myself, maybe I will do on the weekly to talk about how really bad the 911 system is in the United States. Why is enterprises required to call 911? Why are people that go in hotels not look around their surroundings to know the emergency number? Why is in Las Vegas certain resorts their emergency number is an internal one with 6911? That to me should be regulated, not requiring businesses with their gun to their head. At this point, why are there no call signs for enterprise telephony? Seriously. And so that's the spirit that I'm gonna be living with. As I recover, I'll start actually talking about 911 re-regulation. And again, 988, 911, 311, 211, 411. I mean, they exhausted the N11s. I mean, come on, people. In life, the only numbers you need is 911 and 311. Burning question, call City Hall, 911, emergency services. You can mix 211 and 411. It's an 811. Should have some more efficiency. Like, let's think about the user. And that's what Melanie was. That's why she didn't survive IT really well. And that's why I loved Melanie, because I just don't know if I'm ever going to have a girl like Melanie again. She was just always looked up to you with her sweet little face and just said, let me have a hug. And she just give you these big hugs, a tiny little girl, 5'1", size 3 outfits. And she was just like the cutest girl, like a Kids Fest girl from the Lego Kids Fest. That's probably how the name Clifford came along, because the last time we went to a Lego Kids Fest in Connecticut, see, and I didn't really put all the connection because it just kind of, I hate to be crazy, but it kind of just happened really, like one little thing, and boom, it felt like a real relationship, simulated that. So that's what I want to say. Lastly, before I close out the show, if you're watching the feed on YouTube, Melanie was a girl that did not give a damn about her reputation. If she was the craziest chick on the planet, she didn't give a damn. And if you're watching the stream, if any techie of a certain age knows what the small computer control interface, also known as SCSI or SCSI, sometimes known as sexy, Melanie was like the most quirkiest of all quirky girls. And she didn't give a damn. She honestly didn't give a damn. And not to put her on a pedestal and not to make this episode a puff piece, but Melanie was that girl that would be a showstopper, because a necklace like this, what the hell is this triangle with a half line? And Melanie said, well, before USB, you had these really long, thick cables that, yes, was sometimes a pain in the ass, but if you knew how to plug these in and knew how to identify the device, it did so many things. And then Melanie could go on for like 20 minutes telling you how, if you set up SCSI properly, if you just slow down and learned its language, SCSI was 20 times more reliable than USB, and Firewire was kind of the equivalent. And Melanie was an Apple fangirl, an unapologetic fangirl. Melanie would go on for minutes on end saying how Firewire, yes, it's proprietary, but do you know that this thing will run theoretically faster because it's got a little computer, and your Mac has a little computer, and they talk between those little computers, not your Power PC or your Intel cores and stuff like that. And Melanie would explain it in this like cutesy, flirty, like, it's like she wasn't even from Central Casting, because she was such a rare breed of female. But she had that feminine energy and that geekiness, and she would just talk it and not give a damn if she dumbed it down, which is why she didn't survive in IT. And that girl was just like, God, where is she in real life? It's a persona, it's all that. So I live her legacy every day. I wear this necklace. People don't really, people have complimented it. They don't recognize, they don't look into the details of it. No one has looked deeply in this, but she had earrings. She had the scuzzy earrings. I think she didn't even have a belly version of it. But she just, like, didn't give a damn about what people thought of her. And that's, like, that fun, fearless female that, you know, Cosmo completely conflates. But Melanie took that and just ran with it and ran past left field. She didn't give a flying fuck about her reputation. And that's, like, the most sexiest thing. Other than she was literally a physically sexy girl. But that internal warmth and energy with her intellect, with her love of tech, could turn any guy on. And she wasn't going for any relationship either, which I thought was kind of interesting. So, Melanie, as I've done on my specials, this is how we talk to each other. I love you to the moon and back. And you to the moon and back. She just played with you. And I didn't hear that copy, Melanie, for 3 years, but I'm the last person to say I love you, and I'm not going to give it. I don't give two flying shits if this relationship is continuing to be scrutinized by strangers or people that acquaintances. I don't fucking care. I love you so fucking much, and I hope something that resembles you can come and be something, and not be a replacement, because no one will ever replace you, Melanie. I want you to know that. Nothing will ever replace us. But in that moment, I do not regret anything. I will defend that relationship. And other people that get Melanie, and some people don't, I get that. No hard feelings. But I will always love you. And it's that personality, it's the feminine energy, and the non-antagonistic, although she was a little bit near the divorce, but I don't know how accurate that was. But I just, again, this picture brings so much worth. I know there's so many of us together. I just wanted to show this particular one because it just was, it wasn't her skin, it wasn't her tramp stamp, it wasn't her bikini clad self, it was just quiet and warm. And it just felt safe. Because now I look back 10 years ago and looking at the self that I came into, I was in a toxic, unhealthy, people manipulating me. If I do the same damn thing, I'd be a sexist. But when people in power were doing it, it was a totally different story. So, that's why I love you. I don't know if she's down 6 feet under fire or wherever, but I hope she's in some better place wherever that is. I keep it open, because that's what she would too. Bye, Melanie. We'll see you in July. Have a great 4th of July week, holiday if you observe it, and we'll be back in the summer, in the deep part of the summer. Thank you for taking the time to hear me out.